this evidence.
I think this really goes to her state of mind at this point in time, which is March of 2015. There will be other testimony about the meeting with Nicole Marquis, where she talked about her parents being demons trying to pull her soul from her body.
Nicole
Marquis.
Who's that?
She is the woman who Rachelle met at the Suboxone clinic, who describes meeting her in March, in the same period of time, and that Rachelle told her about how her parents, she believed her parents were demons, that when she was a child, her parents tried to pull her soul from her body, and that she was too strong for it, and that now the demons are trying to get into Bella as a ploy to get into her.
So I don't, that testimony, to the extent that's what she says, sounds like it's admissible. I think that's separate from her statement to this therapist that she has a brother who died and she thinks her mother killed her.
That is relevant because she says it in the same context when she's explaining to her to the therapist that her mother is a Satanist and that she killed her brother. Now, Mr. Deacon can ask her to explain that, and the court can properly, I agree that there is then an issue as to whether I should be able to go into it, but I believe we're entitled to have her say it. Mr. Deacon is entitled to have his explanation, and it's up to the jury to decide.
I didn't want to interrupt. Your Honor, I think defense counsel's argument highlights why he shouldn't be allowed to ask this. Ms. Marquis' testimony about things that Nicole and that Rachelle Bond said to her during the time frame of this case, or around the time frame of this case, is clearly relevant. I'm not going to object to it. It's relevant because it shows her state of mind at the time of this case. This comment goes back to a family matter some 30 years ago.
Right. Okay.
And I think it's exactly, Nicole Marquis' testimony is exactly the kind of testimony defense counsel is certainly entitled to elicit to show her frame of mind at the time. This, I would argue, is not.
Okay, and I thought about this issue long and hard with respect to certain journal entries that recalled, traumatic events from her childhood. And I excluded that for the reasons stated in the motion and for other reasons articulated here in open court. I think the same is true here. You have plenty of material to work with, Mr. Shapiro, so you're going to be able to ask her about the statement that she believed her mom was a Satanist, and you're going to have Nicole testify to whatever conversations she had with her about her parents trying to pull her soul out of her body, or that they were somehow Satanists. You can ask her, or that's all properly admissible. The statement about what happened with a brother and her beliefs about that, I'm going to exclude. So what else we got?
There's another entry, and I think this is, I think it's probably 6204. This is the June 11th meeting.
Okay.
Which is the next meeting after March 19th, where in the report of what she says, she tells the clinician that she's feeling better since the last time she came in.
Okay, that's fine.
No objection to that.
And then the other
the next day, I'm looking at some highlighted I'm realizing that you've highlighted certain things maybe that are things you want to present. So I'm looking at 6205. Is there anything on that page?
Yeah, well, I don't think...
That's again about childhood.
I don't think I'm going to go into that.
Okay.
On 6204, however,
Okay.
She explains to the therapist that she has a few children in DCF. I think
That's not on 6204, Your Honor.
That's, we're looking at a different page.
Hmm.
It's not on 6204.
On 6204. This is on 6210. The patient didn't want to go any more into her past, but records show that patient was abusing drugs and alcohol and has a few of her children in DCF custody.
Well, we already know that her rights were terminated as to 2.
She said a few.
And you want to show that what she told the therapist she had more than 2?
Few children in DCF custody instead of 2.
Okay, I'm not going to, I don't think that is, the therapist could well have recorded it wrong. She's accurately saying that she had children in DCF custody, whether it's 2 or a few. Frankly, that could easily be attributed to the therapist's error. So I'm not going to.
Are you saying I can't bring out the fact that she told her therapist on whatever the date was, 6/22, that she has a few children in DCF custody? Now, if Mr. Deacon wants to have her explain that she said 2 and they mistakenly said few, fine. But this is a record. It's an admissible record, and it's an admissible record to show what she said. And it's certainly relevant that at this time she talked about a few instead of 2.
So you want to get in the record. In other words, you want to ask her, so that it's not just ask her, did she tell the therapist that she had a few of her children, but then if she says, no, I said I had 2 of my children, and whatever, she disputes that, you then want to offer this record to show that she told the therapist it was a few. Yes. Mr. Deacon?
Your Honor, hearsay in records is, in this context, is admissible if it shows indicia of reliability. I think Your Honor focused exactly on this. This is not reliable hearsay. This is what a few means in this context. I would agree that if the record said she said her daughter Bella was in DCF custody and it was clear, that would be reliable hearsay admissible. This parsing words of a witness on a cold piece of paper, I think is not appropriate for a court. It is not reliable hearsay. It's highly ambiguous hearsay and should not be admitted, or even as a basis for cross-examination.
I agree. Anything else we need to talk about on the records?
That's all.
That's all.
The other thing, yes, I did want to mention, you were shown a number of Facebook posts
Yes.
yesterday, and you said you're going to look at them. I don't know that, I don't understand that you ruled as to whether I was going to be able to.
Okay, my inclination is to admit them. I don't know that I had a chance to hear from Mr. Deacon on that. You identified the ones you were intending to admit, not all of them, certain ones of them. And the ones you identified, Mr. Deacon, I thought we already had arguments. Certainly I had a sense of what I was going to do.
I think the issue was Mr. Deacon wanted to be permitted to introduce some other posts.
Oh, yes, that's right, and I said
We did
yes.
discuss that.
So I think if you're going to be introducing these Facebook posts, I do think that then allows Mr. Deacon to introduce other posts to show some good things that were on Rachelle Bond's mind, namely her daughter, if that's it. I don't know what these other posts are. I haven't examined those, but I think it does open the door to Mr. Deacon being able to introduce other Facebook posts.
I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. Anything else we need to clarify?
That's it.
Okay. So I guess we're just going to wait for this juror. Can I talk to counsel at sidebar about what the court officer, I don't know if he relayed to you exactly what he relayed to me, but I want to pass that along.
Your Honor, can I have permission to use my phone just to send an email to a witness that was on hold?
Yes, this one.
here, give your attention, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and this honorable court. Court is now open. You may be seated.
Your Honor, for the record, continuation of the trial of Commonwealth v. Michael McCarthy on docket number 15-11292. All parties are present and 15 jurors are present.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get underway, I just want to make sure everybody's followed my instructions not to talk about this case. You haven't heard anything about the case outside the courtroom. You haven't done any independent investigation. And then nothing else has occurred to affect your ability to be fair and impartial. And if all that is true, please raise your hand. We have a late start this morning because one of your number wasn't feeling well. She assures me that she does feel well enough to stay until 1, but what I'd like to do is take off early today in hopes that she can fully recuperate. Every one of you is very important to us, so we don't want anybody to fall ill and have to be excused. So the plan then would be to proceed to 1. At 12, I'll see if anybody needs a short break. If we're okay to keep going, we might just do that to maximize our time since we're starting a little late here. But I'll take a poll of that time and see if we can keep going. So I think Ms. Bond was on the witness stand, and we'll bring her in. So, Ms. Bond, you remain under oath. And let me just inform both Ms. Bond and Mr. Shapiro. It's very important that you not talk over each other. So if Mr. Shapiro is asking a question, Ms. Bond, don't jump in and start talking, because it's very difficult for the court reporter to record it, and the jury won't be able to hear what you're saying. Same thing goes with you as you, Mr. Shapiro. Please don't interrupt Ms. Bond.
Good morning, Ms. Bond.
Good morning.
We're going to have to stop meeting like this every morning. Now, you mentioned the other day when Mr. Deacon was questioning you that you had been prescribed several different medications by your doctors in 2015, correct?
Yes.
And you also said that these were medications that you were selling illegally.
Yes.
And that you were selling them to buy things for Bella and for yourself.
Yes.
And some of the money that you got from selling these illegal medications was used by you to buy heroin.
The medications weren't illegal.
It was illegal to sell them,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes.
And my question is, isn't it true that some of the money that you obtained by selling those medications illegally was used by you to buy heroin illegally?
After Bella was killed, yes.
Now, what were those medications?
Clonazepam and gabapentin.
What about Adderall?
Oh, excuse me, Adderall, yes.
What about Suboxone?
I had stopped getting Suboxone.
You had been prescribed Suboxone in 2015,
Yeah.
had you not? Yeah.
Yes.
And that was one of the medications that you were selling illegally.
Yes.
Now, you've told us a number of times over the last few days that you're sorry you didn't call 911, correct?
Yes, I'm ashamed of it, yes.
But there was no reason for you to have apologized for not calling 911 because there was no reason for you to have called 911, was there?
Yes, there was.
Because Mr. McCarthy didn't do anything for which you should have called 911.
He killed my daughter.
So you don't need to apologize for not calling 911 because the reason that you say you didn't call was on the basis of a story that you've made up.
Objection. Both asking and
That's the same.
Now, you continue to tell us that Mr. McCarthy killed Bella, correct?
Yes.
But after whatever it is you say he did, you and he continued to live together like any normal couple, didn't you?
He stayed with me, yes.
Mr. McCarthy continued, as he had always done, to go to the methadone clinic for his dose.
Yes.
Right? And because he believed what you had told him, that Bella had been taken by DCF.
As to what he believed, this witness can't answer sustained.
Because you had told him that Bella had been taken by DCF, he wasn't concerned about anything that had happened to Bella, was he?
Same question asked.
And you went on with your life as a normal spouse or girlfriend because only you knew what really had happened to Bella, correct?
No, Michael killed Bella. He knew what he did to her. He knew what he did to her.
I'd like to have these emails marked as the next exhibit.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Fine. No objection.
Okay, so there's no objection to this next exhibit, which is, you described Mr. Shapiro as what?
These are text messages from Miss Bond to Mr. McCarthy and vice versa.
Okay, to and from the two of them over a certain time period?
From June 1st, 2015 through September 13th, 2015.
Okay, so that is admitted into evidence? Mr. Beebe, can you help out here?
I'm sorry.
This is where we said together.
Oh, you know what? The power isn't turning.
Mr. Deacon, I'm not getting anything on the screen here.
Maybe.
This screen is not on.
So, should activate this. I'll stay here still. Make sure you guys are. You want to use the document? Yeah.
You have to put this on?
It's not. I think this is just booting it. Let's see what's on. Yeah.
We need the jury, is the jury going to be seeing this?
Yes, I'm going to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to-
Gotcha.
So we know which button to push on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Deacon. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to, I had just asked you whether or not you and Mr. McCarthy went on living a relatively normal life as a couple during the summer.
That's what you asked, yes.
So this is Exhibit 44, and starting on the top, on June 1st, 2015, you sent a message to Mr. McCarthy from Dee's cell phone in which you said, "Kay, love you too, and so happy for you and us all." Correct?
Yes.
That was on June 1st. Later that day, we've already asked you about this. You, on Dee's cell phone, texted Mr. McCarthy, "Oh, probably buy a bag of Gizzies, two or a couple, while you are around the CVS somewhere. Belle just told me to tell Daddy she loves you."
Okay, that was before, yes.
Then on June 2nd, again from Dee's cell phone, you texted Mr. McCarthy, "Hey hun, get some popcorn journals while you are there too. They're cheap."
Yeah,
Correct?
I think it was supposed to be kernels, but yes, I wrote that, yes. And that was before.
In any case, you were someplace and Mr. McCarthy was somewhere else.
Yes.
Now, there's a jump here to June 21st, 2015. You had indicated the other day that there were times that when Mr. McCarthy hadn't paid his phone bill, his phone wasn't working.
These were both his phones, this one, and he had a smartphone, and this, so yeah.
So this is a period of time where he hadn't paid his bill and he didn't have phone service.
So he took this phone when the times he didn't pay his bill.
So,
And even sometimes when he
And
did,
hold on, she's still answering. And
Yeah.
with what?
and even sometimes when he did pay his bill, this phone went right back to him.
Now,
This is his phone.
you finished?
Yes.
On June 21st of 2015, you texted to Mr. McCarthy on Dee's cell phone, "Just tried getting it at the 24-hour Walgreens on Morrissey. They wouldn't do it."
I'm sorry.
I think it's an inadvertent error by defense counsel, but he said you texted him. That what he's reading is actually a text to her. I think he missed the one above.
My mistake. And this was a text to you from Mr. McCarthy, correct?
Right.
And he texted to you, "Just tried getting it at the 24-hour Walgreens on Morrissey. They wouldn't do it. Farm opened at 10. Correct?
Yes.
So he was at the CVS on Walgreens and you were somewhere else.
Yes.
Okay, right. I missed one. Right before that, you texted to him, "Hey, hun, don't forget about your Lyrica, just reminding you." So that was on June 21st at 6:34 in the morning.
Yes.
You texted to him. So you were somewhere and he was somewhere else, and you were reminding him to get his Lyrica.
Yes.
And then the next text, he texted to you and he said he just tried getting it, but they wouldn't do it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then after that, there's another text a few minutes later where you replied to Mr. McCarthy's last text, and you said, "Oh, that sucks. Okay, hon, just so you didn't forget, love you." Right?
Yes.
And then on June 26th, you texted to Mr. McCarthy, "I prob have like 3 and change to just to let you know." What did you mean by that?
And I think it sounds like he was asking if I had any money.
Okay.
$3 and change was probably what I was saying.
Okay. And then on July 1st, you texted to Mr. McCarthy, "You okay?" Correct?
That's what it says, yes.
And then on the next page, we have a text reply from Mr. McCarthy on July 1st, 2015, replying to your last text. And he says, "Yeah, helping Big D, drop the whip off, so all is well. Call you soon when I'm heading back. You good?" Correct?
Yes, D is his dad.
Right, and he was telling you that he was working with his father that day.
Whether he was with his father, yes, I guess.
Well, it said he's helping him, right?
Helping him drop off the whip. Yeah, I guess.
And so you understood that to mean he was working with his father doing some plumbing work.
I don't know about that.
Okay. But in any case, he was somewhere else and you were somewhere else. You weren't together.
Okay.
You agree?
Yeah, oh yes.
Okay. Then, same day, a little later, or replying to his last message, you texted to him, "Yeah, all's well, just keep me posted, love you very much."
Yes.
And then the next text is a couple of days later on July 3rd from you to Mr. McCarthy, "Hun, grab some napkins while you are out, please. We really need them, thanks. Love you." Okay?
Okay.
So Mr. McCarthy was out shopping or out somewhere and you wanted him to get some napkins before he came back.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Then we jump to the beginning of August, August 9th, 2015, at 8:38 in the morning, from you to Mr. McCarthy. "Hey, sweetie, just wanted to remind you to grab some toilet paper after you talk to Big D. Kay, love you lots." Right?
Yes.
And again, Mr. McCarthy was out somewhere, and you wanted him to buy some toilet paper on the way back. Right?
Yes.
And it appeared that he was going to see his father on that particular day.
Yes.
Okay. Then an hour or so later, you texted him again saying, "Hi, hon, are you okay? How is church? You never answered my last text, so I hope that you are all right. I love you." Correct?
Yes.
And then he replied a few minutes later saying, "I'm fine, was talking with Dad. He's sending the money order in tomorrow. Heading to clinic, we'll see you in a few. Love you guys, lots." Correct?
Yes.
Yep. And you know that his father was sending money to pay the rent.
I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly.
Well, do you remember that he
I
was
remember
going
his
to ask?
father was gonna, yes.
Okay. That his father was going to ask his father to help pay the rent.
Yes, I remember him asking his father that, yes.
Okay. And then, just a couple minutes later, you texted back, "Thank him for me. Thank you so much too. We love you too."
Yes.
And then on August 9th, again, you texted him, "And we will see you soon." Right?
Yes.
Then there's a jump to August 20 of 2015 from you to Mr. McCarthy, and you say hi. And the next text from Mr. McCarthy to you is on September 2nd of 2015, and he says, "Answer, will you?" Remember that? That's
I'm reading it, yes.
That's the text. Okay. And then he texts you again a few minutes later, actually a few seconds later, and he says, "Or call me." Correct?
Yes.
So on September 2nd, he was somewhere and he was trying to get in touch with you. Correct?
Yeah, he left me the phone so he can get in touch with me.
So
Yes.
obviously you weren't together.
No.
On the next day, September 3rd, 2015, Mr. McCarthy texts you and he says, "Miss you. This is fucking retarded." And is that because between September 2nd and September 3rd, you were somewhere else?
He was probably out and I was at home.
Excuse me?
He was probably at the clinic and I was at home.
Well, between September 2nd and September 3rd, that whole day, he seemed to be trying to get in touch with you, and he wasn't able to. And I'm asking
one
you
text at 7 in the morning?
whether you were gone somewhere overnight.
No.
Well, you see the
He
next
only-
text
Can I?
at 7:52 in the morning of September 3rd, Mr. McCarthy says to you, "Will you text me back, please? If not, I'm just going to cancel that phone right now." See that?
Yes.
So he had been trying to get in touch with you from September 2nd at 7:44 in the evening, and on September 3rd, he's still asking you to text him back, and he says that he's going to cancel the phone if he doesn't hear from you. Correct?
It was his phone, so if I'm not answering him when he wants me to, he's going to cancel it.
Okay. And then on September, a couple minutes later, on September 3rd, he again texts you and says, "That way I know you have the phone because I don't remember the last time we even saw it. So I cancel it before somebody uses all my minutes. If you need it, that's fine. Just text me back and let me know you have it." Correct?
So obviously I didn't have the phone. It was his phone. And if he's texting me and I'm not texting him back, I didn't have it.
All right. Well, he thought you had it, didn't he?
I don't know.
Well, he was
As to what
texting you about it. Correct?
He was asking me, I guess, but I don't remember getting these texts. I
And-
didn't respond, so I must not have had it.
Does it appear that he thought that the phone might have been lost and he didn't want somebody to find it and use his minutes?
I don't know what he thought, but he's texting me, I guess. He's texting that phone to see who has it, I guess. I don't know what he did with it.
On September 6th of 2015, Mr. McCarthy texted you on that same phone, in which he says, I'm leaving. Bailey just jumped out of the car. He's F888 dying. What the F888? You're probably just arguing over a coupon or something. Stop being so F888 cheap. So he was texting you and indicating that you're probably just arguing over a coupon. Do you know what that meant?
I think I was in the grocery store and he was outside. It was hot out.
Then on September 13th, 2015, you text to Mr. McCarthy, I just brought him out again and he wouldn't go. And we were out there for like 20-25 minutes. He just kept looking up and down the street. Who are you referring to?
Bailey, I think.
And then later that afternoon on September 13th, you were texted by Mr. McCarthy. At BMC, Joe had seizure last night. They Narcaned him. He almost died. He texted that to you, correct?
Yes.
And you responded a couple minutes later, that's crazy. I hope he is all right. Correct?
Yeah.
And then you texted again, I thought you were at the hospital already. You texted me at 9 a.m. and told me you were on your there. Bailey needs dog food too, but really hope Joe's okay. Is he?
Yes.
And again, this was another occasion where you wanted Mr. McCarthy to bring home some dog food on his way, right?
Yes. His dog needed food.
And then this last message from you, September 13th, again, shortly thereafter your last text, you say talking and up.
I think it said, is he talking enough?
Is he talking and up? And then Mr. McCarthy writes back to you, yeah, they had him on life support last night, then today he's doing much better. Correct?
Yes.
And then you text him, okay, I guess I'll see you eventually.
Yes.
And then you once again say, don't forget tobacco if you can. And that's on the same day, a little later, asking Mr. McCarthy to bring some tobacco home.
Yes.
Now you also told us that during the summer you were crocheting certain things.
I guess at some point I did, yeah.
And that there are searches, and I think you said you asked Mr. McCarthy to do a search on his phone for certain information and directions with respect to your crocheting.
I probably had him look up something on his phone.
Excuse me?
I probably had him look up something on his smartphone.
Okay. And one of the things you asked him to look up for you is crochet patterns for baby Afghan blankets.
I guess.
Okay. Were you crocheting or knitting a baby Afghan blanket?
I don't know about a baby one or just an Afghan blanket in general.
Well, do you recall specifically asking him to search for a pattern for a baby Afghan patterns?
I don't. I guess I must have.
Okay, well, let me just show you this document and ask if you recommend, you refreshes your recollection as to whether on, you see the highlighted portions?
Yes,
You see that on August 17th?
yes.
There's an indication of a search for free crochet baby Afghan patterns.
If you look at them all, the first one was crochet circles, so I was looking for a square pattern, I remember this. I was looking for a square pattern for just a large Afghan.
Okay.
And the last one was actually the one we got that was right.
Okay.
So it wasn't a baby Afghan, per se. It was just an Afghan, the pattern.
Ms. Bond, my only question was whether you asked Mr. McCarthy to search the web for a free crochet baby Afghan patterns. Yes or no?
For Afghan patterns, yes.
My question was
Not for a baby
specifically...
one, no. I'm sorry, no. It wasn't
So-
specifically for a baby one, no. It was specifically just for a square pattern of an Afghan.
Okay, do you agree that the search was for a baby Afghan pattern?
That's what it's saying.
Okay. I offer this as the next exhibit.
There's no objection to that, and that, how would you describe that, Mr. Shapiro?
This would be a page of web searches on Mr. McCarthy's phone.
Web searches, what dates?
On 8/17. I think they're all on 8/17.
Okay. Exhibit 45.
I'm publishing to the jury Exhibit 45, and you agree, do you not, that, I guess it's not coming up on the, is it on?
There's a button we need to push, I think.
No, I think they're all on.
Are the screens perhaps not turned on? It says that they're all showing.
Yeah, I know, but they're not on, whatever. Okay, I mean.
Is it, I don't know if it's on the screen here.
It's not on those screens, it's on all the other screens.
Well, I took it off, now it's rebooting.
Apparently that indicates that there's something. This means that the red one down the drawings would like to know that those two screens are not for some reason.
I don't know how to address that. That's right, just try it.
He said sometimes it just
Yeah. Reset.
Is it on in there?
So is it on the juror
It's on the juror
screen?
screen.
Okay, all right, so one,
Not there. Yes, it is on the juror screens.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so I think we can forge
All right.
ahead.
And so, just to be clear, the second highlighted item says free crochet baby Afghan patterns, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
And this was a search that you say you asked Mr. McCarthy to run.
I asked him to look up crocheting squares for Afghans. It happened to be one of them.
Now, I'm going to put on the monitor exhibit 36C. You recall that these are text messages between you and Mr. McCarthy, you on Dee's cell phone and Mr. McCarthy on his phone, while you were in housing court.
Yes.
And the first message on the top says, from Mr. McCarthy to you, says, also definitely don't bring up the fact that you have a daughter to take care of, because then they may want to get DSS involved. Correct?
Right.
So he was talking to you about your daughter in the present tense.
He was telling me not to tell them about my daughter
That
because of
you-
DSS.
But he said, don't tell them that you have a daughter. Correct?
That's what he's saying.
Okay. And then you responded, and his next message to you, you don't need that, meaning S dash dash dash, in your life again. They always seem to find a way that something's wrong where they take the kids, and it's always BS. Correct?
That's what he texted me, yes.
And then you texted back about going into mediation, and then he texted to you, oh, did you read any of my messages? Just wait in the courtroom, don't go anywhere, and most important, do not bring up the fact that you have a daughter that you're taking care of. They will try to get, he says, ESS involved and try to take her. Correct? That's what he said.
Yes, he didn't want me to talk about my daughter.
The daughter that
He
he
killed her.
thought that you had and were taking care of.
If in June I told him DCF took her, how is in July he asking me
I
to
move
not
that this
tell
be
them so that they don't
stricken.
take her?
Okay, I don't think
The
that's
witness
responsive.
does not ask questions.
Okay, I don't think that's responsive, so
Okay, I'm
that's
sorry.
stricken, and we'll have another question.
And then another message later, he says, did you get what I said about Belle? Don't bring her up. Judge may order DSS involvement. Tell me you got this so I know. And then you said, oh, and then he said again, we can't lose her to the state. And you said, yes, I know, each time you text that. And then in the end, he says, Kay, we love her too much to even let those vampires be around her. Correct?
Yes, that's what he texted me.
Now, part of the story that you have concocted and told to the police was that at some point,
As to the form of the question.
part of the story that you've told to the police is that after Michael killed Bella, he punched you in the kidneys so hard that there was blood in your urine and feces.
That was a while later, yes.
You said that to the police, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when do you say that happened?
That happened a while later.
And tell us when that happened.
I'm not exactly sure, but I know I had called into my doctor. He had called on his cell phone to my doctor because I didn't know what to do about it.
Okay.
I was going to the bathroom blood.
So let me just get this straight. You're saying that he punched you so hard that you were bleeding internally, and that you called the doctor because he called the doctor for you?
Yeah, it was his phone, so he called the doctor from his phone.
And so, what did he say? I just beat up my girlfriend and she wants to know how to take care of herself? Is that what he said?
He dialed the number, and I got on the phone. And I asked the doctor, is it possible because of my surgery that I would be going blood? And after that, they were like, yeah, just see what happens. And I didn't tell them what had happened, no.
At this point, I'm going to ask that the next record be introduced. Next exhibit.
No objection.
Okay, that's admitted, and we described that behalf of Mr. Shapiro.
This is from Boston Medical Center, a certification of no record. And the certification
So
refers...
it's a Boston Medical Center record?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Exhibit 46.
So you called Boston Medical Center, correct?
Yes,
And you, or who called? You called or Mr. McCarthy called?
he dialed it on his phone and gave me the phone.
And you spoke to a clinician.
Yeah, I don't think it was a doctor, but I think it was like a nurse or...
Okay. I'm publishing Exhibit 46, which is a certification of no records. And the certification says, the undersigned says, I am an authorized custodian of records at Boston Medical Center and certify that a thorough search was carried out under my direction and control based on the information you provided to us. We located no records on the following patient. Patient name, Rachelle Bond. Service dates. No phone calls logged for time frame of May through September 2015. This certification is based on the information furnished. Thus, records could exist under another name or identifiers. Furthermore, as permitted by law, accreditation standards and hospital policies, medical records may be destroyed after 20 years retention, and signed by M. Coleman, Health Information Management. Now, Ms. Bond, Boston Medical Center doesn't have any record that you called. And that's because you didn't.
I did.
That this was a story that you recently told the police, and it didn't happen, did it?
It did happen. And there said on that information paper you just said that it could be under different identifiers.
Okay. So are you
So
saying
maybe
that
it's
you
under a
used...
different number?
A minute, hold on. Carol, I'm sorry.
So maybe that, you know, it wasn't my phone number or something, it's a different identifier, because it wasn't my phone. I don't know what the identifiers are, but I
Well,
did call. That's a fact.
If you look at the screen, you'll see the identifiers are date of birth, 7/25/1975. Is that your date of birth?
Yes.
It also indicates medical record number 3114283.
Okay.
And that's the medical record for Rachelle Bond,
Yes.
correct? So the identifier was correct, wasn't it?
But this is, thus records could exist under another name or identifiers.
Well-
So there could be other identifiers.
Are you
I did call.
saying you gave a phony name when you called?
No, but if there's a different identifier, which I don't know what that would be, but I did call.
Well, you
I-
see the identifier on the certification, don't you?
Yes.
That's you, isn't it?
Okay, yes.
And that's the identifier that they're referring to, right?
I guess so, yes. It's one of them.
Now, now, do you remember when the first time you told the police about this alleged incident where he punched you in the kidney so hard that you had to call BMC, the Boston Municipal Medical Center?
I don't recall the exact, no, I don't recall.
Well, I'm going to just show you a document and
Is this just for the witnesses viewing?
yeah, just for the witness, okay, and ask if it refreshes your recollection.
So is it not on the juror screen? Okay, good.
As to when you made this statement for the first time.
Yes.
Asking her to read that to herself
Yeah,
and see if it refreshes her recollection as to the date.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
To speed things along, I think you may not be showing her the right section of the document or the right document.
I just want to show for both sides, both pages. Oh, all right, so do you see you see that in paragraph 3?
Yes.
Okay, and just showing you the first page to put it in the context, does that refresh your recollection as to when you told the police about that?
Well, I didn't know it was that day, but I remember saying it, yes. I remember it happening.
And is it fair to say it was on or around April 8th of 2017?
Yes, when they started coming and talking to me, yes.
So this was not something you ever told the police back in September of 2015, is it?
No, that first general interview was very, very brief.
Right, the general interview in which they asked you to tell them what happened next, and what happened next, and what happened next.
Yes.
Right. Now, during during March, June, and July, you had regular visits at a clinic called Nova Psychiatric, correct?
May, June, and July?
March, June, and July.
Okay.
My question is, did you
Yes,
have regular meetings?
Once a month I went there, yes.
Okay. And you went there for the first time on March 19th of 2015.
Yes.
And when you first went there, you reported a history of anxiety and panic disorders.
Yes.
And in the course of talking to the psychiatrist, you told him that your mother was a Satanist.
Yes, I remember that.
So, was your mother a Satanist?
No, I don't believe so.
Why did you tell your psychiatrist that your mother was a Satanist?
So I had told Michael some stories about things that my mother had done.
No, I'm not asking you what you told Michael.
I think she's trying, I think she's trying to answer the question, so, go ahead.
No, well then I withdraw that question. I'm asking, why did you tell the psychiatrist that your mother was a Satanist? Not what you told Michael.
I think
I'm
she's,
not saying what I told Michael. I'm saying what I believed at the time. Michael had told me, because of stories I had told him about my mother's abuse to us when we were children, that she was very mean and militant and very cold. And he said because of the stories I told him, he had studied Satanism or whatever that is, and that he believed that she was probably a Satan worshiper. Because of the things I had told him from my past, and he kind of, just how cold and mean she was, it kind of convinced me that she might have been.
Okay, so now you're telling us that you went to Nova Psychiatric, you told your psychiatrist that your mother was a Satanist, and that's because of what you say Michael convinced you that your mother was a Satanist?
Yes, to some extent.
I'm going to go on, and I want to ask the next question, because I think it's particularly pertinent now.
why don't we approach sidebar since it's
So, so you told the psychiatrist that your mother was a Satanist because Michael had told you that your mother was a Satanist.
He had convinced me that she was
Mhm.
cold and evil,
Right.
so she was
And-
very mean.
And so, when you told the psychiatrist that, you're attributing that information to Michael, right?
He had convinced me of it, yes,
Yeah.
to some extent.
And you also, I think Mr. Deacon showed you a page or 2 pages from your journal article in which you describe the reptilian demons who are sucking blood and killing children. And you went on at some length about that, right? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember showing you that, yes.
And is it your testimony that Michael told you to write that?
Some things in the book, yes, there's visions. 'cause
I'm
he had
asking
these-
about that thing.
She has to finish her answer. Go ahead.
He said that he would have epiphanies or visions, and he was psychic, and these are the things he could see about our government, that they were shapeshifters and reptilians and judges, presidents, lawyers, all of them. They did these
Right.
off-the-wall kind of occultic things, yes.
But you agreed, do you not, that it was your journal article that you wrote?
I wrote his visions down. I wrote them in a book, a random journal.
We'll offer that as the next
This journal excerpt you're talking about?
I need to see what it's.
Yeah, we just need to see which excerpt you're talking about. It's an excerpt from the journal, correct? So we just need to see what that is. Or Mr. Deacon needs to see it.
While we're looking for it.
Okay,
let's
perhaps
go-
yes, you can keep asking some questions.
So, Ms. Bond, just so we're clear on this, when you say that you wrote this entry in your journal, you're saying it wasn't your thinking, it was Michael's thinking.
So there were some things in there that I had written that, you know, he would read whatever I'd write anyways. And some things in there, yeah, I would write down things that he would say. Some things he'd say, write this down now, I just had a vision, or I had I don't even know what to call it, epiphany, or whatever he believes he has. He thinks he's psychic, so he would say that to write this down, it's important. And some of the things, you know, when it's drilled into your head and you watch all these internet things about it that actually back up what he's saying. And
I believe the answer is becoming unresponsive at this point. The question was, did Michael tell you to write that particular entry?
I'd like to see it first, and yes, a lot of things were what he wanted me to write.
So these are date stamps 3008 through 3010.
Yes, Mr.
Could I-
Deacon, have you had a chance? I'm looking
I haven't
at
had
it
a
as
chance.
well. It starts
Got
out
it.
Jade Helm, 2015.
No objection.
Okay?
And in addition, 3040.
Okay, why don't we do them one at a time? So excerpt bait stamp 003008, Jade Helm 2015, 3 pages, will be one exhibit. Exhibit 47.
And then the next one is 3040 through 3042.
No objection.
Okay, that excerpt is on the next exhibit,
And that's also, that's an excerpt from the journal.
and that also is entitled, starts out Jade Helm 15.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I'm going to show you this third page of Exhibit 47. And you agree this is your writing?
Yes.
And nowhere in this journal entry did you say anything about Michael making you write it, did you?
I wouldn't write that Michael made me write this,
Yeah.
no.
But my question was not what you would or would not write. My question is there anything in this journal entry that indicates that this is not your own thought?
I don't understand.
Did
Is
you
something
say
that-
anywhere in here that this is what Michael told me?
Oh, I didn't say that anywhere in here, no.
Okay. Did
These
you
are
say-
things he told me.
Did you say anything in here which indicates that this was not from you?
It indicates, no.
Okay. So here, just reading what you wrote, you say we are run by a completely evil entity, a hybrid entity that came down and mated with humans. They are reptilians, mated human beings, can't open,
Can't you?
can't go,
I think it's can't you.
can't you see the emblems on every ambulance and hospital? And it goes on.
Yes.
This is what you wrote.
Yeah, these are the things that Michael used to drill into my head. The ambulance is, like, so the staff is supposed to be our spinal column, and the snakes wrapped around are the reptilians that came down and mated with humans. These are all, like,
Right.
his conspiracy theories about government and
But
humans in general.
But he never wrote them down, did he?
No.
Only you wrote them down.
Yes, I wrote these things down.
And you're now trying to blame it all on Michael, even though these are your writings.
These are his beliefs, and he has a lot of conspiracy nuts on the internet that back him up.
Mm-hmm.
I had no other information coming in, but his beliefs in that, and you almost get caught up in it when that's all you see. So
Anything
he was
else?
trying to make me believe in this, and to some extent I started
And
to.
apparently, you seem to have believed in it, didn't you?
No, to some extent it's crazy now. It's crazy, and this is crazy, and I cannot. I can't take back mistakes that were done or the crazy thinking that was put in my mind, as well as, you know, starting to believe it from not only that information off the internet that truly makes it sound
Judge,
plausible.
at some point...
I'm sorry, she has to finish her answer.
Well,
Go ahead.
this answer could go on all morning.
No,
that
I
was-
don't think so.
That was just done there. I was done there.
Did you write, the government are all inbred reptilians, bloodline pure?
That's what's written.
Did you write it?
Oh, yes.
Did you write, how come so many children go missing a year? At least 1 million children go missing in the U.S. alone, and no one seems to know where they're gone. That's because the leaders of every country get together and torture and rape and kill these innocent children every year just so they can drink their blood and eat their flesh, so that these reptilian demons can have a moment's sanity. You wrote that?
Oh, yes. He used to say this all the time. No one's going to miss your child. Millions of
Judge,
children go missing a year.
Can I ask that the witness be instructed to answer the
Okay.
questions and not
So-
to add things?
Okay.
So, Ms. Bond, if you can answer yes or no,
Just
try
yes
to
or
do
no.
that.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Now, I think we had started on this when you say you told your therapist or your clinician that your mother was a Satanist, and you blame that on Mr. McCarthy too.
He convinced me of it, so, yeah.
Convinced
You
you,
blame it on anybody.
convinced you that your own mother was a Satanist. That's what you're telling us.
Yeah, we're not very good together, me and my mother, so we don't talk.
Now, you went, we had talked about the first time you went, and that's when you told your psychiatrist that your mother was a Satanist. That was on March 19th of 2015, correct?
Yes.
Now, you went back on June 11th of 2015, correct?
Okay.
And that was, at least as you've told us, shortly after when you say Michael killed Bella.
Yes.
All right, so you go to Nova Psychiatric, you meet with your therapist alone, right?
Yes.
Michael didn't come with you, did he?
Yeah, he drove me there, yes.
Well,
He was there.
he didn't come into the therapist with you, did he?
No, he didn't come into the room.
That was private.
Yes,
That was confidential.
yes.
He didn't know what you were saying in there, did he?
No.
And on that occasion, you told the therapist that you felt better than the last time you had been there.
I don't remember.
Okay. I'm going to put this on the monitor and ask if it refreshes your recollection as to what you reported to your psychiatrist.
Okay.
And it's fair to say you reported that you felt a little better since the last time you'd been there.
So she was saying that I have high anxiety right now?
No, the question, Ms. Bond, is
Okay, yes, it
whether
says-
or not you told the therapist that you felt better than the last time you were there.
It says she reports a little better.
Okay. Is that what you said?
A little better.
Is that what you said?
That's what it says.
Okay. So between the last time that you were there, you claimed that Michael had killed your daughter, and you claimed all of these terrible things that happened, yet you told the therapist you felt better.
I didn't say better than last time I was there. She asked if I had a lot of anxiety because I seemed like I did, and I said I feel a little better.
Okay. A little better than what?
I don't know. It didn't say anything else after that. Obviously, that was a
You
lie.
also-
Yeah, I'm sorry, I think you've answered the question.
You also told the doctor that you were stable, didn't you?
I don't remember.
Okay, showing you, this is Bates 6200. Does this refresh your recollection as to whether you reported being stable?
When was this? What's the date?
On June 11th of 2015.
Can I see the date? Okay. Can I read the top of it? Is that possible?
You can read what I'm showing you, and
No,
I'm
I will-
asking if
actually-
it refreshes your recollection.
I think it's fair to show the witness the top of the,
I just did.
No, she...
enough so that she can just read it to.
Okay.
Okay, fair to say that you denied having any acute issues?
Yes, and I think we were talking about...
Just answer the question.
Yes.
Is that what it says?
Yes,
And that you reported that you're stable.
with medications, yes.
Well,
Besides medications.
does it say you're reported stable on medications?
Yes, that's what we were talking about at the time. I was on my medications, how it was doing.
Okay, so you're remembering now the actual conversation you had on June 11th, 2015?
This is when I really first started speaking to my new therapist.
In any case.
And we were talking about if my medications were good or not and if it was stable. That's what we were talking about.
And so you said you were stable,
On my medications.
and you said you had no acute issues.
With my medications now.
Well, when you first,
So it says I'm stable, yes.
you see that?
Yes, I do see it.
Okay. So, the reason why you had no acute issues and you were stable is because you hadn't experienced the traumatic event that you've been telling us about for the last 3 or 4 days.
No, that's not true.
But in any case, whatever that traumatic event was, you were stable and had no acute issues, according to you, on September 11th.
I did. I might not have said that to my therapist.
According to what you told your psychiatrist?
No, according to what I told my psychiatrist, no.
Now, you went back to Nova Psychiatric on June 22nd
Okay.
of 2015, just 11 days later.
Yeah.
And again, on each occasion you went there, you met alone with your therapist, right?
Yes.
And whatever you said to your therapist was confidential. You knew that, didn't you?
Yes.
Do you remember on June 22nd, you talked to the clinician about your children?
I don't.
I think that this is an issue we discussed, it's sustained.
Can I approach this over?
Okay?
Do you recall going back to Nova for your next visit on July 9th of 2015?
I did go back once a month, I said, yes.
Okay. And then you returned again on July 30th, 2015.
Okay.
By saying okay, you're agreeing that that's the case.
I mean, I didn't see the dates, but yes, I'm going to assume that's correct.
And on each of those occasions, you, as other times, met with your psychiatrist in private.
Yes.
Your Honor, a technical objection.
I think the records reflect that you met with a public health nurse practitioner, not a psychiatrist. I just wanted the record to
I can't hear
accurately.
you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I think Mr. Deacon is taking technical issue with whether she met with a nurse practitioner or a therapist or a psychiatrist. It's been referred to I think the witness is described as her therapist.
Right.
But
I
if,
don't think the records bear out that it was a psychiatrist. I didn't want the record to be inaccurate.
so if the record, Mr. Deacon says the record shows it's a nurse practitioner as opposed to a psychiatrist, I don't know that that necessarily matters. The witness has agreed that she was visiting her therapist.
Yes.
Now, you know a woman by the name of Nicole Marquis,
Yes.
and you know her because you had met her at the Suboxone clinic in Brookline, New Horizons, where you were both going for therapy.
Yes.
And do you recall talking to Miss Marquis from time to time?
Sometimes, yes.
Do you recall a time where you had a conversation with Miss Marquis where you told her that your parents were demons?
I don't remember exactly that, but I mean, I had already admitted that Michael had convinced me my mother was a Satanist, as crazy as that is, and so possibly I could have said that.
So the answer is
Can I
possible.
ask for
Possibly.
I'm sorry.
responsive answers?
I think the answer is possibly you could have said that.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, you do recall talking to Miss Marquis and telling her that your parents were demons.
I remember talking to her.
Do you remember telling her that your parents were demons?
I said I don't remember, but it's possible.
It's possible?
Yes, I don't remember exactly what our conversation was, no.
I'm going to show you something on the monitor, and ask if this refreshes your recollection. This is 2088. If you look at line 2, and just read this to yourself.
Can counsel identify for the witness what that's going to read into the
Is this an excerpt from a transcript? Is it, what
Yes,
is it?
it is a transcript.
Okay. Is this is not before the jury, is that
No.
correct? And you're asking her to read this to refresh her
Refresh her
recollection
recollection, yeah.
about something? Okay, I'm not sure what it is she hasn't remembered.
Well, it was about whether she told Miss Marquis that her parents were demons.
Okay, and she couldn't remember, okay.
Right.
So reading that to yourself.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
It says that I said that they were demonic.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection that you told Miss Marquis that your parents were demonic?
I mean, I don't really remember this conversation, but you're showing me this is what was said. I don't really remember this conversation.
My only question is, do you, by reading this, does this refresh your recollection about the conversation you had with Miss Marquis?
I just said I don't remember this.
Okay. Nothing about the conversation?
I don't really remember much about this conversation.
Do you remember Miss telling Miss Marquis that your mother had hit you on the back of the head with a hammer?
I remember saying that, I guess.
You do?
I remember saying that I felt like I was being watched too. Yes.
Okay, and we'll get to that. But you remember that, do you remember that you told Miss Marquis that your demonic parents would try and pull your soul out of your body when you were a child, and that they never actually could do it because you were too strong and that you were not like them? Remember that?
No, I don't really remember this conversation. I think I've already said this. I don't remember much of this conversation with her.
Well, you said you remember the part about your mother hitting you on the head.
Yes, I do remember that part.
Okay, and I'm asking about whether any other part of the conversation you remember, such as telling Miss Marquis that your parents were demonic and that they were trying to pull your soul out of your body when you were a child.
I just said I don't remember much of this conversation.
Well, do
I think
you-
the answer is she doesn't remember the conversation, Mr. Shapiro.
Do you believe that when you were a child, your parents were demonic and were trying to pull your soul out of your body?
No.
These are the compound questions, two words.
Okay, what, the answer is what, no?
No to both of
Okay,
it.
the answer is
It's
no.
You just told us that you do remember telling Miss Marquis that you felt you were being watched.
Yes.
And you recall specifically telling Miss Marquis that, or let me put it this way, you remember talking to another woman who was sitting nearby in the tea station.
No, I remember saying, I think something like, stop watching me or something. I don't remember really talking to anyone though.
So you do remember saying to some other woman, stop watching me.
Yeah.
Because you felt that that woman was watching you.
Yeah, she was looking at me, so I thought,
And
yeah.
do you recall telling Miss Marquis that she, meaning that woman, was one of them?
I don't remember why, but I remember telling someone to stop watching me. Yes.
Now, did you believe that this woman that you say you thought was watching you was one of Michael McCarthy's friends who you thought was following you?
Mike had told me that
No,
it was all...
no, not what Michael told you. I'm asking if you believe that this woman was someone that, a friend of Mr. McCarthy who was following you. Is that what you believe?
Yes, that's what I believed.
And that's why you said she was one of them.
She's someone who's been watching me.
Had you seen her before?
No.
When you talked to the woman and asked, why are you watching me, did she respond?
I don't think I said why. I think I said stop watching me. I don't think I said why are you watching me.
When you said stop watching you, what did she do?
She probably thought I was crazy.
I wonder why.
It's an odd, it's an
Okay,
odd thing.
I'm sorry, so the comment that's stricken. Let's see if we can move this along, Mr. Shapiro.
Now, you also told, when you first met with the police on September 18th, do you recall, that is of 2015, this is at the time you were arrested.
Yes.
Do you recall telling them that well, let me just strike that for a minute. Do you remember? I guess my question is, when you first met with the police on September 18th of 2015, at the time that you were arrested, do you remember telling the police that you believed that all your life there was a huge shadow that was following you?
I felt like there was negative energy around me, yes.
Well, my question is, did you tell the police that all of your life that there was always a shadow that had been following me around? Remember telling that?
Yes, I told him I thought there was like a bad energy that followed me.
Okay, and the question was, did you tell them that there was a huge shadow
I think,
following you around?
Mr. Shapiro, I think she's answered the question.
Right.
So that's,
She-
let's try that. She's basically acknowledged that.
Okay, on page 5.
And
You
is,
see,
and we're showing her what, a transcript
Yeah,
of?
transcript, page 5, line 17. See that?
What line?
17, always a shadow that had been following me around.
Okay. She hasn't, she has not said she didn't recall. Are you now trying to impeach her for some
Well-
kind of contradiction? Because I thought she'd acknowledged
Well-
essentially. But if you want to show some inconsistency, go ahead and do it.
I just want to get you to, you didn't tell the police anything about negative energy, did you?
I said the shadow negative energy, that's what I consider it, yes.
Do you
I'm
think-
not saying I protest this information, no.
My only question is, did you tell the police anything about negative energy?
I might have said shadow, I never said I didn't. So, no.
Okay, so you did. And you told the police that this shadow that was following you around was huge.
Yes.
And you explained how you believed in spiritual stuff.
I believe in spiritual things.
Now, did Mr. McCarthy convince you that there was a huge shadow following you around?
He said he saw it too.
That wasn't my question. My question was, did Mr. McCarthy convince you that there was a huge shadow following you around? Or was that your own belief?
We both believed it.
You know,
I don't know.
again...
So, Mr. Shapiro, I think that- Mr. Shapiro, I think that's a-
we can go back and forth. I asked you a specific question, and that question was this your belief, or did Mr. McCarthy make you believe that there was a huge shadow following you around?
These were both our beliefs. I don't know how else to explain that.
Can I ask for an answer to the question?
I think that answered your question, Mr.
Well, I
Shapiro.
don't.
Well, let's move on. This is not an argument. I'd like to continue on with an examination, Mr. Shapiro.
Before you met Mr. McCarthy, did you believe that there was a huge shadow following you around?
I believe there was a bad energy that followed me around, yes.
Okay,
That was,
so so that was before Mr. McCarthy.
yes,
Your belief about bad energy, huge shadow following you around all your life, you believe that before you had anything to do with Mr. McCarthy?
Yes, a lot of bad things happened to me in my life, and I believed that I had a bad energy around me, yes.
Now, No, it's true, is it not, Ms. Bond, that at one time, prior to about April of 2015, you had your own phone.
Yes.
And do you remember that phone number?
857-266-6250.
And you used that phone to call, to text, and to go on the internet. It was a smartphone, right?
Yes.
I'm going to show you a number of images and ask if you recall posting these images on your phone,
Okay.
on your Facebook page.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Was this an image that you shared from a website called All Things Paranormal and Supernatural?
Yes.
Was this a website you went to regularly?
I think it was just shared from one person to another.
But you shared it, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And that was on March 27th of 2014, was it not?
Yes.
Okay. I offer this as the next exhibit.
Okay, we discussed
No
this.
objection based on the first one.
Okay, we're going to admit this. In fact, I take it there's a number
I'm
of...
going to offer about a half a dozen of these.
Okay, so show to Mr. Deacon. I think we've discussed those already. And given my ruling, I think they can go ahead and be pre-marked into evidence, and the witness can then refer to them by exhibit number. Do you want, I think individually would be better.
I'm going to publish these.
So these are appearing on the juror screens. Our big screens are not functioning at the moment, though.
Yes,
That's
they're
fine,
not.
though. That's okay.
So this was an image from the, this is Exhibit 49, an image from All Things Paranormal and Supernaturals. And you shared that image from that website, correct?
Yes.
And you added your own comment to it, correct?
I said, that's right. Keep fucking with my family. I'll get it to get, or get it together. Excuse me.
Okay. That's right. Keep fucking with my family, in caps, get it together.
Yes.
Right? And the image is an image of, I guess, I don't know how you describe it. It looks like a serial killer with a mask.
It's like Jason, I think, from Halloween. That kind of looks what it looks like.
From,
The movie Halloween.
okay.
That's what it looks like to me.
Okay, and the post that you shared said, I'm the kind of friend who will help you hide a dead body, but if you betray me, just remember, I know how to hide a dead body, in caps.
Yes.
Correct?
That was the post.
And this was in March of 2014.
The year before that, yes.
Okay, long before Mr. McCarthy.
Told my daughter, yes. Right before that.
Showing Exhibit 50. You recall this post?
Yes.
This is a post which you shared on your Facebook page, and it shows a hand with a revolver, or not a revolver, a semi-automatic pistol, and it says, "My life insurance policy is not a piece of paper."
Yes.
Exhibit 51, again, a post you shared, which states, "Don't play games with a girl who can play better than you."
Yes.
Exhibit 52, a post with another woman with a semi-automatic pistol. "What doesn't kill you makes you a bad bitch."
Yes.
Exhibit 53, "Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. I am kind to everyone, but when someone is unkind to me, weak is not what you are going to remember about me." And that's a quote from Al Capone.
Yes.
And finally, Exhibit 54, there is a post where you shared a post of somebody sitting by a tree saying, "Free yourself of everything that hurts you," with a supernatural type creature being expelled from the person.
Yes.
And all of these posts were before Mr. McCarthy, weren't they?
Yes.
Now, it's true, Ms. Bond, that you're anxious for this trial to be over, aren't you?
I'm not anxious for it to be over.
Well, isn't it true that you want it to be over because you have an agreement with the prosecutor that when this jury returns a verdict, you will walk out of jail, correct?
Yes, that's true.
So you want this to be over, right? You want to get out of jail, don't you?
Anybody in their right mind wants to get out of jail, and
And the question was, do you want to?
I'm kind of anxious about it because I've been there for a while and I have nothing to go back to. He took my life from me, so
All right.
I have nothing.
We know your story. My question was, are you or are you not anxious to get out of jail? Yes or no?
I'm more nervous about it than I'm
Okay, so
happy about it.
you just assume
I'm very
stay there.
nervous.
You just assume stay there?
Not that I want to stay there, but I'm nervous about leaving.
Now,
There's all kinds of different emotions there.
your deal with the prosecutor that you entered into requires you to cooperate with the prosecutor by testifying against Mr. McCarthy at this trial. And in return, when the verdict is returned, you get out of jail, correct?
Yes, my sentence will be over.
Your sentence and your only punishment for the crime of what you did to your child will be over, won't it?
Michael McCarthy killed my daughter.
No, I didn't
And
ask you
that's-
that.
I've-
I asked you whether, when the verdict is returned in this case, your punishment for what you did and you admitted to your child will be over and you will get out of jail.
Okay, Mr.
Yes or no?
Shapiro, I'm going to sustain the objection as to the form. I think that the difficulty here is with you trying to characterize her as admitting something. You'll have to
Did
be
you
more
admit-
specific.
Did you admit to guilt?
For not calling
Concerning-
emergency services, yes.
Did you admit to guilt for being an accessory after the fact?
For not calling emergency services, yes.
Ms. Bond, do you know what the definition of being an accessory after the fact is?
There's a bunch of different reasons.
Do
But
you remember?
Yes, I have claimed guilt for that, and I'm taking responsibility
Do
for it,
you
yes.
remember when you came to court and entered your plea?
Yes,
You didn't enter a plea to failing to call emergency services, did you?
accessory after the fact, you're right, yes.
Okay. And that means being an accessory to, after the fact, to the death of your child.
After Michael Keller, yes.
And when this trial is over, the only punishment that you've received for that will be over.
And then I have 2 years probation, yes.
Well, the probation is for another crime.
Oh, yes, yes, you're right, I'm sorry. Yes,
So
yes.
it'll be over, right?
Yes,
Now, you know that the maximum penalties for the crimes to which you pleaded guilty is 17 years in state prison.
okay.
Now, don't say, okay, do you
Yes,
know it or not?
yes.
7 years for being an accessory after the fact, and 10 years for larceny, for continuing to collect benefits from the state, knowing that your child was dead.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
Okay. Now, in your plea agreement, you say that you agreed to testify truthfully,
yes,
and you've agreed not to provide any false information.
yes,
But that agreement that you have with the prosecutor is contingent upon you testifying truthfully, right?
yes,
And if the testimony that you provide or have provided is not complete, not truthful, the prosecutor can declare that the agreement is null and void.
yes,
And if he declares that it's null and void, you can be sentenced to up to 17 years for the crimes to which you have already admitted.
yes,
So you want to make sure the prosecutor is happy with your testimony so that he won't say the deal is off.
I'm just telling the truth and that's it.
My question is, there's an incentive for you to testify the way the prosecutor wants you to testify, isn't it?
All he wants me to do is tell the truth,
Because
and that's what I'm doing.
if the prosecutor decides that you're not telling the truth, then the deal is off, right?
Objection is the form that, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Why don't you restate the question, Mr. Shapiro?
If the prosecutor decides that you're not telling the truth, the deal is off.
Objection.
Misstates the law, Your Honor.
Okay,
And I'd like to be heard at sidebar if...
okay, let me talk to counsel at sidebar.
I'd like to have this marked as the next exhibit.
Absolutely no objection, Your Honor.
Okay, that's admitted as essentially, this is the plea agreement. Exhibit 55.
I'm going to show you and publish to the jury what's been marked as Exhibit 55 and ask if you recognize that.
I can't see anything on the screen. I think it got turned off.
Yes, you have to turn it back on. Is it on the juror screens? No. There it is.
Okay.
It's on the witness's screen. Is it on the juror screen? Yes.
I see
Okay.
it.
So, Exhibit 55, do you recognize it?
Yes,
And on the last page, is that your signature?
yes,
And your signature is over your lawyer's signature?
Yes,
And this agreement was entered on February 9th of 2017.
yes,
I'm going to call your attention to paragraph 4 of
Yes.
the agreement. And it says, should the district attorney declare this, the sentence before that, if the district attorney learns that the information or testimony which Ms. Bond provides after the date of this letter is not complete and truthful, then this agreement may be declared null and void by the district attorney.
yes,
So you understood that to mean that if the district attorney or the prosecutor, who's sitting right there, decides that for whatever reason your testimony was not complete and truthful, he can declare the agreement over, null and void.
yes,
Right?
yes,
And then it goes on to say, should the district attorney declare this agreement to be null and void because the information or testimony provided by Ms. Bond is not complete and truthful, the district attorney may recommend that the court impose any lawful sentence on Ms. Bond as a result of her guilty plea, correct?
yes,
And you understand that any lawful sentence could include any sentence up to the maximum of 17 years.
yes,
And that sentence goes on to say, and the district attorney may also institute a prosecution of Ms. Bond for any offense that the evidence permits, including prosecution for perjury.
yes,
So, in addition to sentencing you for the crimes you've already admitted, the district attorney could institute a new prosecution against you for perjury.
yes,
Were you informed that the penalty for perjury that is committed in the course of a murder trial is life in prison?
I didn't know that, but,
Well, if I,
Okay.
that is the penalty.
okay,
And so, not only could you be sentenced to 17 years for what you've already admitted, but you could be sentenced, if the district attorney says this agreement is null and void, he can prosecute you for a crime that would provide for up to life in prison.
okay, yes,
So you have a pretty strong incentive to make sure the prosecutor is happy with whatever you say.
I don't know about happy, but I'm being truthful.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay. Yes, frankly, so this is the end of your cross-examination.
Yes.
I would like to take just a short break and just check in with the juror who wasn't feeling well, make sure it's okay to proceed. So if we could keep it to about 10 minutes, and then I can talk to the lawyers.
Court, all right.
That were the Commonwealth to declare the agreement null and void, the law would require a judge to make a determination as to whether or not she could be sentenced further. That is the law.
Well,
It's
I
black
think
letter
what the
law.
agreement says is that you are to recommend to the court, which does imply the court ultimately has to make a decision based on your recommendation.
But the letter says may recommend any sentence, which suggests then that there doesn't have to be initially a judicial determination that it is a valid. In other words, the district attorney can always declare an agreement null and void. The other party to the agreement can come before the court and argue that there is no basis for that declaration. And if a judge finds there is no basis for that declaration, that's the end of that.
So you're saying that there, in addition to a judge approving or ultimately deciding
sentence.
whether to accept a recommendation of sentence, a judge would also have to determine whether the DA's decision declaring the agreement null and void is valid.
That's correct.
I think that's right.
Number one, whether it's right or not doesn't matter. The agreement is what she agreed to. And if the agreement was intended, or Mr. Deacon thought it, in hindsight, it should have said something else, and should have said, and the judge will decide whether you've told the truth or not. That's not what the agreement says. The agreement says that if the district attorney decides that she's not been truthful, he can declare the agreement null and void. That's it. And it goes on to say that if the district attorney declares it null and void, then the district attorney can recommend any sentence, any lawful sentence. So whether or not, if the district attorney declared it null and void, Ms. Bond would have an argument before the court. That's not relevant. The relevance is what the agreement says, and I would object to any instructions which go beyond it.
And Mr. Dean, are you saying that the agreement was written against the backdrop of the law?
All agreements are written against the backdrop of governing
And
law.
Can you cite me a specific case that, frankly, I've never had a situation where a DA has come before me and asked that an agreement be declared null and void. But if you could cite me to a particular case that stands for the proposition that you're asking me to instruct the jury about, that would be welcomed. And Mr. Shapiro, I don't hear you disagreeing as to the state of the law. You're saying you do.
I know of no decision, authoritative decision, which says that a judge can do what Mr. Deacon says. I think the authority is with the district attorney to decide whether to reserve a plea agreement. And so, yeah, I don't think that is the law. But I say, regardless of what the law is, what's important is what she believes. And her understanding of the plea agreement, which she testified to, does not in any way involve her coming before the court to contest what might happen if it were declared null and void.
Okay, frankly, I see this as a somewhat academic in the sense that ultimately it's going to be up to the jury, as we all know in a case like this, to determine whether this witness is telling the truth. And what part of my instruction to the jury is, in considering the plea agreement, is that they need to understand that the government, that is the DA, does not know for sure whether a witness is telling the truth. So to kind of hypothesize some kind of scenario whereby a jury could make a determination in a case based on the witness's testimony, clearly the jury did not accept the credibility of the witness, even though there was no specific finding as to that could then result in some further proceeding. That's a hypothetical that I can't even imagine.
I'm not hypothesizing that. Mr. Deacon all I say is the cooperation agreement speaks for itself, and I object to any instruction which in any way says that is not the case. The cooperation agreement.
So, Mr. Deacon, if you want to propose a specific instruction with a citation, I'd appreciate writing it out. I'll consider it. Frankly, I'm inclined just to look back at the instruction I give to jurors generally about how they're to take into account this plea agreement, and that specifically contains a sentence saying that the government doesn't know whether a witness is telling the truth, and ultimately it's going to be the jury that makes that decision in this case. So, but let's take a recess and do that.
Yes,
I am going to check in with this juror.
I'll say, Yana,
She's okay?
the juror's fine. She can make it to 1 o'clock.
Okay, so let's take a 5-minute recess. I would like to, frankly, we can start the redirect. And
Yes,
before I say anything about a plea agreement, I can consider this. The redirect is going to last how long?
I think in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, I will consider whatever it is you want to give me.
Thank you.
But I'd like to take a 5-minute recess and come back.
Thank you.
Court, all rise, please.